Hi, I'm Christy Conway with Charleston Home and Design Magazine, and I'm here at this wonderful Kiowa Island home with Jay Miller of HWC Custom Cabinetry and Patty Gatens, the homeowner of this wonderful home. And I'm here talking to them about this amazing kitchen that they've done. So, Jay, how are you doing?
I'm doing great this morning. How about you?
I'm doing well. And Patty?
I'm doing fine. Thank you.
Can you tell me a little bit about the scope of this project, what was involved and whatnot?
Sure. Golly, it started about a year ago or so. Patty and I were introduced to one another and just kind of started talking through the process. She had several pictures of kind of what she'd been thinking. I think you'd been planning this really for several years, really. And so we got together and sat down and really started kind of working through the process of going from her pictures and ideas to some ideas of kind of on paper or on computer, I guess really is the way we operate. But and then just taking all that information, generating that, and then that really was the start of the process. And then golly, let's see, we went from there. Chris Rose was involved in really kind of going from that point to just what are some design elements we can do and implement that really just give the kitchen a lot of punch, a real wow factor. And I think as you look around at some of the different elements that are here, those really come out. But then we moved from there into really the construction phase, and Andy Myhouse and his team were wonderful about gutting the kitchen and making everything prepped up just right so that when it came time to install everything, it went in with minimal difficulty and able to bring about what you see today, really.
Right. Okay, so Patty, how did you come across working with Jay and HWC?
Well, it was interesting because when I decided to do the kitchen, it was very important to me that I did an English-style kitchen that was very reminiscent also of the Charlestonian kitchens that I've seen in the home tours downtown. And I wanted to bring a lot of elements that I knew were going to be very sophisticated, and it was going to be a very big project for a kitchen remodel. And Andy Myhouse of Myhouse Construction is a very dear friend of mine. And with Andy comes Jay Miller at HWC, and they work hand in hand all the time together. So that's how I found Jay. And we brought Chris Rose into the loop just to give us a few...
The architect.
The architect, yes, of Chris Rose Architects, to bring in some of those design elements. You know, some of those Charlestonian, I believe he's an 8th generation Charlestonian, and we thought he would bring some of that in, which he did. Yeah,
Chris Rose is a fabulous architect. Do you normally work with an architect for a kitchen design?
Not normally, occasionally, but Chris Rose is an exceptional, he really has a design eye that goes above and beyond, I think, the scope that most architects would say they tend to work in. He really likes to get involved in the nitty-gritty details of a project like this. So he was ideally suited, I think, to bring about what Patty wanted or help do that.
What I find interesting is that for this project specifically, it seems like you've worked with, I mean, 10 different people or so, the cabinet installers or not cabinet, countertop installers and whatnot. Do you find that it helps to be able to work with people, I'd imagine?
Yes, in fact, that's one of the things, and I think Patty would attest to this, one of the things we really strive to do with all of our clients is communication. You know, there's a lot of good quality products out there and stuff like that, but really trying to bring it all together and make it all work as seamlessly as possible, and you're bringing together so many, especially in this project, so many unique elements. There's many different little focal points and especially items in here, and to try and bring all that together into a cohesive project and make it really work was challenging, and it requires a lot of good communication, regular communication, whether it's email. You know, we utilize some technology that allows remote viewing of our computer as we're designing a project, so you know, you can actually see what's going on in the home or in the kitchen. And so lots of different tools, you know, telephones. We have, I joke around, I say, you know, I have a voicemail and I know how to return phone calls. So, you know, how many times...
There are some people that don't.
Exactly.
It's a very integrated process. I mean, it takes a lot of people. When you do a project to this magnitude, it is very intricate. There are a lot of people that have to come together, but between Andy and Jay, they were the ones that were on the job with all the people and making it all come together. And I was absentee because it's hard to live in a house when you don't have a kitchen.
You wouldn't want to invent it at that time.
No, and it was it was gutted. It went down to the studs. So we actually had to vacate, the house for quite a few months.
Now, how did that relationship change when, you were out of state? How did you communicate?
Well, we communicated, as Jay said, not only via email and telephone, but what I found so fascinating, I was just mesmerized by his CAD program. CAD program, I'm a former teacher, and we have CAD programs, and not all CAD programs are the same. Plus, my family is in the building industry, and so I'm used to being around cabinet makers and builders that have CAD programs. And as I said, they're not equal. His is fabulous. I loved the fact that I could be out of state, so far away, and he would call me and he'd say, okay, click on this link. And it would patch me through to him, and he was able to then use his cursor and go over top of a cabinet and say, okay, do you like this cabinet here? What would happen if we changed it to a glass cabinet? What would happen if we changed the mullions from, cross mullions to like Gothic webbing, mullions? And
you could see all of that.
See all it, and I would say to him, Jay, I think we should slide the sink a little bit this way or a little bit that way. And then we talked about putting an appliance garage to hide the appliances. So he would show me with the appliance garage, without the appliance garage. And it was just fabulous. And then when he was done, he could just press a little button and it would shoot right to my email, and I could print everything we had talked about right off in my email and have it right there, and then process it and think about it. And then we could go, and then I could call him and say, okay, we need to make more changes. So as he said, communication is just amazing. And he is so amazing, his communication skills. To me, it is very important that whoever you use as your builder or any of your people that you have on a project, that you feel like they are there for you whenever you call, and that you are their one and only client, even though you're not. Right. And I always felt, and he has many clients, and I always felt like I was the only one. And he was always there. Everything was done very timely. The job came in on time. The communication was great. He was very patient with me. I made a lot of changes. So it was a lot of changes.
A lot of good changes.
It was a fabulous experience. And we basically, we plodded along and we got it done. But we got it done on time, which was very good.
Exactly.
Well, you did make a lot of changes, but would you change anything now? I mean, obviously, you did it at the right time.
No, I wouldn't. As I said before, I can honestly say that I am so delighted with the kitchen that there isn't one thing. And thanks to his foresight, there were things that we probably could have had mistakes on. Like, that drawer shouldn't be there, or that drawer should be bigger. One of the things that we thought about is a standard size kitchen cabinet, upper cabinet, that I actually have oversized plates, and I have oversized pasta bowls, and they could not fit. And so if we had gone forth with the typical standard size upper cabinet that most people have, I wouldn't have been able to put 2 plates in there, the pasta bowls and the oversized dinner plates. Okay. And so he actually increased the size of them.
So what are the other kind of neat gadgets and features about this kitchen that you find unique?
Well, Patty mentioned one of them just in talking, and really with a lot of our clients, we find that, plates and stuff are larger than they used to be. I mean, a lot of people have oversized platters and stuff, so it's certain that a discussion point with clients, do we need to think about larger cabinetry than normal, per se, in your project? Some other design elements, behind us is one of my favorite. Just this beautiful bar area, the radius doors that actually operate with the radius or the canopy top. That was a very detailed, intricate piece. It required a lot of just a lot of engineering, really, just a lot of thought process. But each spot there, you know, Patty was talking about the communication and getting the drawings and be able to analyze it, because she is a wonderful cook and she has lots of things and she wants them in very specific places. And so it gave her the time to sit there and really think about, okay, do I want this here? This is where I'm going to put this, is what I'm going to do here. Too many people want to really rush a project through, and they say, oh, I'm about 4 weeks out from needing cabinetry. Yeah. How about we talk? We need to do that a little bit before then, yeah, right. Because this sort of project with this sort of detail, meeting Patty's particular desires and needs in her kitchen, that doesn't happen in just a little 4-week period. It takes some time to really sift through all those details. You know, well, I think we'll go around later and look at some things, but, you know, we have a very custom hood that, again, Patty and I really collaborated back and forth along with Chris, and just trying to come up with the particular things, what type of hood. We had some unique ventilation issues we had to deal with. We couldn't go up and out like you can with most normal vent hoods. We had to go down and underneath the house, and so that required a lot of involvement with other people. So each spot, you know, we're sitting at a beautiful handmade table that really kind of came about, and this bench came about through conversation and how the house needed to go, but really being able to look at it real time in our CAD software and say, well, you know, that really doesn't give us the room to do that, or this does. And so just kind of working through all those details like that.
Well, and I like the way that Jay, when he meets a client, he wants to interview the client and the family and find out the way they function in their space. And I think that's very important. Not everybody does that. You know, it's like, you know, give me your drawings and let me get started. He wants to know the way you utilize the space, and I find that very interesting, because let's face it, there are, you know, I'm a gourmet cook. I really like to cook. We do a lot of entertaining. We have a lot of friends and family that come and stay in the home multiple times per year. So it was very important for us. And you know, coming with the cooking come very large things. You know, very large pots and pans. You know. Large woks, you know, large crock pots, large this, large that, and so we had to do extra deep cabinets and do a lot of interesting things to accommodate, you know, everything.
A lot of storage.
Lazy Susan, right?
Some unique Lazy Susans, some pots and pan storage and organizational things, plate holders and stuff.
Well, and also, you know, the other thing is, quite frankly, I got really tired in the old kitchen of getting down on my hands and knees to look inside a cabinet that opens as a pull and trying to find things that were hidden way in the back. And so we did everything as a drawer, and I cannot tell you how wonderful it is just to open a drawer and there it all is. You can see it all at one glance. And the pantry operates the same way, because the pantry before was just shelving. And then you're like, oh darn, where's that mustard? And you would look in the back and go, well, I guess I don't have any mustard. And then you discover it like 6 months. Oh, there's that. There's that mustard. Now the same thing, you open the drawer and you have everything right there and at a glance. We did the same thing with the bar entertainment area. Those drawers are actually extra deep, and when you pull them out, you can see all the wine and all the liquor bottles at a glance. You don't have to like root through heavy bottles trying to figure out what you have when you're going to entertain in the back. So it's a very, very functional space. But you know, thanks to, you know, Chris, and thanks to Jay, and
you know, Patty, you mentioned just that I interview you, but I even, believe it or not, I probably shouldn't tell you, but I do this for everybody.
There are other clients.
You know,
that goes back to the thing that you always feel like you're the only one, which is good. You should feel that way.
But you know, it's neat because the cabinetry and the work to build the cabinets are all the same to me in that sense. So I'd much rather, let's make the space yours. We're making it. Part of the advantage of our software in that process, we don't have to be locked into certain sizes or configurations like a factory cabinet might have to offer, or they have a really exorbitant price tag to customize something. We're able to just, through the course of conversation, I know, oh, you know, you have accessibility issues, so why don't we raise the dishwasher up off the floor, or, you know, some other unique item like that that just helps them. You know, Patty mentioned drawers. I'm kind of pushy about that, I think, with most of my clients, that you need drawers everywhere. Put the investment in it, because it makes it, well, and it makes it easily accessible. And with people wanting to stay in their homes longer and longer in life, that's important. You need that. Crawling around on your hands and knees in your 80s really just isn't most people's idea of fun.
So. Well, and Jay can also retrofit fit and change and remodel, a cabinet, a space that I guess you might have also. And because I know you can open a door from a kitchen from 30 years ago, and you can retrofit, hardware that's a drawer, like that's a drawer. So, there are all kinds of options for all kinds of people.
Now, I'm going to get technical here because you're talking about drawers a lot, and I was looking at your drawers, and they looked a little different. They had metal sides, and they didn't slam when you close them. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. We utilize our preferred drawer is a metal drawer system called the Nova Pro drawer.
Over Pro?
Nova. It's made by a company called Grass, and it's our premium drawer system, but it integrates, as you mentioned, a soft close function, which is pretty popular right now, whether it's in traditional wood drawers or this. But it's more typically found in your finer European cabinetry, the type of drawer we're using. Some of the advantages are here in the humid climate. You know how the doors in your house work better at certain times of the year than others frequently.
Actually, I am very aware of that.
As the humidity changes and whatnot, and what happens, a wooden drawer is the same way. It moves, and whatever's mounted to it moves. And so as the seasons change, your drawers and the reveals, you notice everything's very aligned, very straight, clean lines, and that will shift on a wooden drawer. Now, it doesn't bind up when it's engineered properly, but it moves around and it doesn't look quite right. Well, on a metal drawer system like this, one of the advantages is that everything stays put, because at the humidity levels we're talking about, or I mean with steel and the humidity and temperature changes we have, it doesn't move for all intents and purposes. And so your reveals don't move. So whether you're in here in the spring or summer or fall, everything looks the same today as it does in those other times.
Well, and interesting, as you well know, when a kitchen ages, sometimes those sides start to discolor or they get, dirty. And now with this, easy to clean, and they'll always look exactly the same, whether it's today or 20 or 30 years from now.
Now, you've been mentioning engineering. I understand that you were an engineer in the military, right?
I was in nuclear engineering on submarines in the Navy.
Okay. How does that apply to this? I mean, you wouldn't think that it would, but I feel like it does. Tell me a little bit about that.
I'm very detailed oriented, a little too much so sometimes. My wife might testify to that. Think things a little too much, but anyhow, where it really comes out is just what Patty said is, I want it all to work, and I want it to work on the first time too, and so that's why we've made the investment in some of the software that we have to help us see that and anticipate where problems can be, because when you're designing things from scratch and not necessarily staying with a very particular standardized thing, you need to have the ability to see, is this going to work or is this going to function properly? And so that's one of the things, space really matters. If you've ever been on like the Clamagore downtown at Patriots Point or something like that, you'll notice that, it's small. Right. So space matters to me. And so whether it's a larger kitchen like this, or especially if it's a smaller kitchen, it's very important that you get the most out of that space.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, interestingly, one of the things he's very modest, and one of the things he doesn't mention, though, is he's also very visionary and very creative. And in the beginning, when I started the process, I really wasn't worried about that with a cabinet maker, because I figured between my art background, and I have a very good friend, Miriam Ricks of Classic Design, who's an interior designer, I figured between her background and Andy Myhouse, who is obviously a builder, so he has a very visionary mind with spaces. I figured between the three of us, we didn't have to worry about the cabinet maker. But in the process, as we went along, I found that Jay really is very creative, and he really is able to design. So if somebody does not want to have, an architect, do their kitchen or their space or their living room, that he really does have a creative side, right. And he is very visionary, and he doesn't talk much about that side of him. And very often when you have an engineer, they don't have that side. Right. Having taught and been in the art field for many, many years, very often those two don't go hand in hand. So,
so basically, you're best of both worlds.
According to Pat,
yes. Well, going back to use of space, I just want to mention, because I love this, that this bench has a file cabinet in it, which of course was your idea. But to use every single inch of space seems to me very important. What other features? Yeah. What other features in this kitchen kind of use an interesting spot that you wouldn't normally think has storage?
Well, let's see. Well, for example, the top cabinets up there, instead of just opening conventionally, they actually lift up, and so it allowed us over a pair of doors to have one solid glass panel door, and so that lifts up. But again, it has stays, it's soft close, it doesn't bang around, so it's easy to manipulate. Even if you're on a short stool or something, can barely reach it, it's right there. Other uses of space.
The spice rack.
Spice rack adjacent to the hood, for example. What things, Patty, have you found just in using the kitchen?
Oh my goodness, there's so many of them. Well, one of the big ones, if you're going to mention the file drawers, is actually the banquette that you're sitting on. You know, originally that center island, you know, just stopped and was to have maybe bar stools. Either it was just going to be as is without a banquette, and then this would be a freestanding table and 4 chairs. Or it could have extended a little and you could have put a couple bar stools there. But then you're facing opposite of the view. Right. So what we came up with together was putting the banquette in, which is good for a small space, which allowed the table and 2 chairs. Thus, you have a free walkway right here where you can get in and out of the room. But also, my husband needed someplace to put files, and we thought, where are we going to put files? Now, normally you wouldn't put them in a kitchen, right, but we do not have an office. So I thought, you know, and he loves to do his bills sitting at this table with a cup of coffee, looking at the water and looking at the view. And I thought, you know, how wonderful that he could sit right there and he doesn't even have to get up. He can just reach down, open the drawer, and get to his files. But the other things, as Jay said, were the fact that right next to the stove where the hood is, that the whole part with the hood that slides out and all the spices are right there. The corner cabinets, which are usually dead spaces, and you have those like little old-fashioned shelves that were in there, but again, you can't even fit your shoulders in there to get at those spaces. You have to get a pair of tongs or something to, you know, to try to reach and pull things out. He's got wonderful, wonderful European and wonderful hardware in there. That's not the old-fashioned kind that Lazy Susans where you, they're a little rickety and a little wobbly. They're so well made that I love them. They're just amazing. And I just love the way you open the cabinet and you slide this piece out and it twirls, and then you twirl it back and slide it in. It's just fabulous.
My mom's Lazy Susan did not do that.
No, and the older ones
20 years ago, yeah.
But there's wonderful things. I mean, there are drawers where there's the racks where now, you know, in my other kitchen we had a cabinet and all the lids to the pots and pans were all just thrown in there, and then you got to root around, and now there's a rack and everything's neatly stacked, and then, you know, you've got I had a lot of knives and Chef's knives, and now I have a drawer and they're all in little homes, and
you can see which one you're going for, right?
Exactly. Everything is just so well organized. There's no chaos in this kitchen, thanks to all his things that are inside the cabinets, because it's one thing to look beautiful, the other thing is it has to function.
And again, that was that whole just talking and communicating and really kind of interview was the word Patty used to, what do you need? What sort of things do you have? What inventory of knives or bowls or stuff do we need to be conscious of, and how are we going to do it?
One of my little bugaboos is I always had a cabinet that had all my Tupperware and plastic things just, you know, for food storage. And it was, after a while, you know, you organized it, and within a month or weeks, it was just a disaster again. And then it's like, oh, and it was always like you open the cabinet and the lids are falling out. Yeah. And now I have a cabinet that everything's neatly stacked, all the lids are up in a row, much like the pot and pan lids, and I'm so excited. It's a very happy place. I'm very happy being in the kitchen now.
Definitely. Now, this was a pretty big project, but obviously you do a wide range of projects. Is that right?
Yep. You know, this is a very unique, very detail-oriented custom project. We do ones that are a lot simpler, even some that are just even rental homes from time to time. Probably more out here on the island than not. But and we have things that are specially geared, or suggestions we make in those areas that make them very rugged and durable, because somebody who owns a property and they're leasing it out a lot, they don't want to have to worry about a lot of maintenance. And so we have drawers and other things that we recommend in that really add another layer of durability and ease of repair if it does get destroyed or damaged. And so we have a pretty wide range of clientele.
I find it interesting that I had been collecting pictures for probably, it had to be well over a year, maybe even close to 2 years. And there were a number, and I would always get a number of magazines, and I would tear out things that could be potential possibilities, or maybe take a cabinet from here and hardware from there. And like I said, I did a lot of research in Charleston kitchens and English kitchens, English style, a lot.
You're an expert now.
That's the teacher background.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, some of the pictures I actually tore out were living rooms and kitchens and dining rooms that were his.
Oh, really?
Isn't that funny? And we didn't know that until we were well into the project. And I happened to, in his shop, which, by the way, he has an amazing shop, like amazing shop. And, I was looking through some of his magazines, and I said, I love that. And he said, did you read the article? And I went, oh, my goodness, that's yours. And that was one of my pictures. And because he doesn't just do kitchens, he does libraries, and he does beautiful mantles and woodwork in dining rooms, and just some amazing details. And those were some of the things I even tore out.
I'd forgotten that.
And I thought that was very interesting. I thought that was, so talk about a small world.
Right. Definitely. Now, she mentioned your shop. Do people go to the shop to see your work usually, or?
Well, we have a showroom, and our shop's right next door. So we sit down and kind of work through a lot of the design and details and stuff like that. But our shop's an integral part of what we do, because we design, build, and install custom cabinetry. And so we feel like it's very important to be involved in all three of those aspects to really, you can't just be one of those and create this kind of project. You've got to be involved and have the tools to help design and be involved in that. To build it properly, we utilize state-of-the-art CNC, which is computer numerically controlled machinery.
No one has ever actually explained what that stood for, so I'm so glad I finally know.
That's that engineer thing coming out of me.
I love it.
It's just, anyhow, but it allows us a very high degree of precision, so we can use some of the finer hardware that has tighter tolerances, and just kind of taking a tape measure and a pencil and putting a mark and screwing it to the thing. Everything's all pre-plotted out down to, we actually work in metric internally in our shop and our operation. Most of our clients don't talk in that, so we keep it in English, and when we're speaking in the world, but
you translate.
That's right, we translate exactly. But so it's an integral part of what we do, and so even I'm sure Patty testified that that's part of our process. Is we'll meet together in showroom, do that, but I don't think anybody leaves our place of business without visiting the shop as well, and just see that, because we work real hard to take some of the lean and theory constraints manufacturing methodologies that are out there, so that we can use higher quality materials and things in our process, but yet be very efficient in that, so we are still offering things at a good value, but we're not up at a Rolls-Royce price tag, I guess, if you will. So
it would be a shame for a client to work with Jay and not actually visit the shop, which is so close, because not only is the showroom lovely, and you can see a lot of special little features that he's built in the showroom, because, for instance, like the drawers, the metal drawers, but he also has the CAD program and the computer right there, and it is a treat to actually watch him work on the CAD program and see its capabilities. But it is wonderful to walk right next door. The shop is huge, and it is so clean. I don't know if I've ever been in a shop that's that organized and that clean, because you don't expect a workspace where you've got sawdust and you've got that kind of thing going to be that meticulous. But he and his folks that work for him are very meticulous, very clean. The machinery and the way, every corner has its, from here it goes over to that corner, and from that corner it goes to that station, and from that station it goes up there, and every part is absolutely amazing. It's really amazing process to watch.
Can an interested client just swing by the showroom, or do they have to have an appointment?
they can, but if they want to be guaranteed to actually be able to get in or talk to me, call me, and let's get together. Find a time. I'm happy to schedule that.
Do you have a website where people can learn more about the company?
Yep, HWCcustomcabinetry.com. Very, very simple, but go there. Our process, which is really revolves around communication, is pretty clearly spelled out right there. The process that we go through, as well as lots of pictures. You know, everybody wants to see pictures. That's the important part. But
right. Well, it is, because that, you know, because you want to find somebody that can build, you know, the vision in your head and whatnot. Although I don't think if somebody went on the website and didn't see the picture that exactly was what was in their mind, he can do it. I can just tell you that he can do it. And he is very, very gifted at what he does.
Thank you. Oh.
You're turning red.
Am I?
Well, if someone wanted to make an appointment with you, what's your phone number?
843-207-0750.
Well, thank you so much for meeting with me and telling me all this great stuff. Because
you.
Actually, I have a kitchen that I need some help with. We'll
All
talk
right.
about that later.
That sounds great.
And we have bathrooms, 3 bathrooms that we're going to be doing in the near future.
You'll be coming back.
I'm a cabinet person and a great builder and a great interior designer and a great young man here. So
Perfect. Well, good team. Well, thank you so much for meeting with me.
Thank you,
very
Christy.
much.